My name is Ellie Jenkins. I'm a partner at Akerlof, where I look after all of the work we do around environmental and social outcomes. In this practice series, you'll find a little bit about environmental and social outcomes more broadly, and then we deep dive into some of my areas of specialism, which are around social impact measurement, how you develop a strategy, and how you get the most out of bringing in a consultant to support your social impact needs. I think one of the lovely things about working in the built environment is that you get to work on some built environment assets that will always be there and that you can go back and remember. So there's definitely a couple of those scattered around the country. I'm particularly proud that I led the Value Toolkit, which was a huge innovation programme, and I spent around 18 months working with Cabinet Office to see how they could embed better outcomes into their major investments in the built environment. So on a day-to-day basis, we work right across the value chain. In terms of the projects that we're involved with, they can range massively. So they can be working with investors to help investors set frameworks for how they deliver environmental and social outcomes through their investments in the built environment. They can be working on major projects. So at the moment we're working on a hospital project, looking at the social impact that hospital project can have. And again, we work on policy and research projects as well, looking at how government and public sector can deliver better outcomes. And then we work more broadly in the built environment value chain. So we work with contractors, looking at how they can deliver better environmental and social outcomes as well. So quite a range of projects that we work on. In terms of the challenges that we see from an environmental and social perspective, there are probably a few that stand out. So the first one is that comes up time and time again is around measurement. Measurement, particularly related to social outcomes, can be really complicated. Social outcomes are often monetized, which means we put a monetary value on the value that is created. So for example, an apprentice will have a value attributed to it. But the way that you attribute that monetized value is quite contentious. There are lots of different ways of doing it, and there's not a consistent approach that's adopted by everyone. So measurement can be really challenging in terms of social and environmental outcomes, particularly when you don't have a baseline of what the position was before you did your intervention. I think legislation is quite complicated from an environmental and social perspective. There's been a raft of legislation that's come through over the last sort of decade, particularly over the last 5 years. And now people are looking at all sorts of different bits of legislation and are not entirely sure what they should respond to. When you combine legislation with policy, it ends up being a really complicated picture for clients that are trying to deliver better environmental and social outcomes in the built environment. I think the Value Toolkit is a project that I worked on that was amazing to work on, but it was also really challenging because what we were trying to do was drive change right in the heart of government within kind of Cabinet Office and the Infrastructure Projects Authority. And that's a big undertaking. Trying to drive change at that scale is incredibly complex. It takes way longer than you would want it to, and it doesn't always deliver what you'd hoped it would. So I think trying to drive change at that scale is really challenging.